Hey folks. So today I want to talk to you guys about trudging through the darkness to find the light. I've had a lot of people reach out to me in the last while just telling me about how much they're suffering and how much pain and misery is going on in their life. And they're telling me that my videos are helping, but I also wanted to create a video that's going to help you understand suffering and darkness. And I want to start off by explaining a concept, a spiritual concept called the dark night of the soul. And this is essentially every human being goes through this period or periods of these in their life. And up to this point, I've had a couple periods in my life where I've gone through this. And one of them was my addiction, and the other one was a period in my life where I was making a big transition and really essentially felt like I lost myself. And that's where I think I want to start with this video, is just start by explaining to you guys my dark night of the soul and what that meant for me and how I came out the other side of it, and in hopes that it can give you guys some insight. So when I was moving from Calgary to Vancouver, there was a big period of shift that I went through in my life. First of all, I went through a really bad breakup with somebody that I was with for 8 years. We had a house together, and in that period of time, we ended up trying to sell the house, and it wouldn't sell. And there was a bunch of stuff that went down. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I ended up losing about $100,000. Pretty much my whole life savings was gone in that period. And that was a huge blow for me. I was on stress leave from work because I was dealing with some mental health issues. I started dating a guy in Vancouver who wasn't able to show up for me the way I needed him to, and I wasn't able to show up for myself the way I needed to, and it threw me out major loop. And I decided to move there anyway, against greater judgment. And this really threw me, and it basically just stripped me away from everything that I knew that I was. And it became my dark night of the soul. And what ended up happening was I lived in this period where I wasn't sleeping. I was an insomniac. I was struggling with what a psychologist was describing as obsessive compulsive disorder, because my mind would not stop compulsing and obsessing over certain things that were happening in my life. And to be honest, I thought I was going crazy. I was pretty much against taking meds at that point, and I ended up going on antidepressants, anti-anxieties, and anti-obsessing pills, basically, and became in this little cocktail of medication. And there was several times throughout the course of that 2 years where I was just so tired and I was so exhausted from trying to fight the fight. I had no idea how to control my mind. I had no idea how to detach from my mind, and I was experiencing suicidal ideation at this point. I was not wanting to live anymore. I remember laying in bed at night and not being able to sleep and looking up, and there was pipes that were all along the flat that I was living in. And I just remember envisioning myself, like, could I do this? Could I actually do this? And obviously I never went through with it, but it's something that I literally was in so much pain and so much suffering that I was like, this is not how I want to live. And in that moment, I had so much empathy for people who have taken their lives and who have completed suicide, because I know it's not the answer, but when you're in so much pain and you're in so much suffering, it feels like it's the only way out. And I think if I can be, an example that if you continue to push and you can continue to persist, you will find your way to the other side of your pain and suffering. And that really is the whole idea in life, is to find a way through these swampy waters, right? Trudging through the darkness to get to the light. That's what this is about. It's about finding, putting your waders on and literally getting into the water and trudging through your shit, trudging through the shame, the suffering, the abuse, all the stuff that you've gone through, and all these memories that you're playing out in your mind, and all these patterns that you're playing out. You have to believe that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes the light isn't shining yet. You have to get a little bit further into the tunnel before you can see it. And that's where people oftentimes give up. So what I want to share with you guys today is this idea now where I finally got myself to a place where I don't suffer in that way, because I have created some mastery of my mind, where my mind isn't running the show as much as it was before. I've learned through this suffering what it is that I need. And now when I have clients who are suffering, I used to be so like attached to their suffering and want to solve their suffering for them. But what we need to understand is the suffering and the pain that we go through is actually, it turns out to be our power. Because in the suffering, it's very dynamic. Suffering is very dynamic because we have to shift and change, and we have to adapt to find our way through it. And this is how we grow, right? So it's important for us to understand this, because our pain is our power. That is the message I want you guys to take away from this video today, is our pain is our power. If you are in a place right now in your life where you're suffering, you need to understand that this is valuable. This is something that your soul needs to go through. You need to go through this in order for your greatest spiritual evolution. So I now I'm excited for people when they suffer, because I know that if they can not prolong their suffering, if they can actually dig in and start to go inside instead of looking for outside or looking for ways to manage their mind through drugs, alcohol, stuff like this. If you can actually go and sit with your pain and suffering, you can actually shed it quite quickly. But it's when we resist it that it persists and it becomes something that is bigger than what it actually needs to be. This is why I'm a huge proponent of evolving within. That's why this is my new brand, Evolving Within. We actually need to go within and we need to evolve. We need to stop looking outside of ourselves for the solutions to our pain and suffering. Okay? So when I went through this period in my life, this went on for 18 months, and then I finally mustered up enough courage to move back to Calgary and start my healing journey. By this time, I had adrenal fatigue stage 2. I was exhausted. I couldn't get out of bed for months. And came back to Calgary and tried to work at a gym, and I was still dealing with all of these adrenal fatigue issues and stuff. And so I did a real number on myself, because I wasn't honoring my body. My body was screaming at me. My body wouldn't let me sleep at night. My body was sending me all these messages, but my mind was so stubborn. It wouldn't allow me to honor my intuition the way that it needed to be honored. What value I took from this is I developed a completely new threshold for pain, for emotional pain, and this actually has transferred into physical pain for me. So my capacity to experience pain and suffering has completely shifted since going through that. When I'm working out at the gym, I can push myself to these new crazy realms of pain, because I experienced such deep pain and suffering that it was able to push me through. So again, another thing that you can attach to and say there is value in your pain and in your suffering. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the path of yoga, because the path of yoga is a path for people who are experiencing the dark night of the soul. That is when yoga can actually be. You can actually step onto the path of yoga and utilize it for what it's worth. Because in the yogi tradition, they enter the path when they are so fed up and they have hit rock bottom with their mind. Because their mind is completely a rabid animal. It is just got a mind of its own, and it's taking you on a journey. And I literally was there. I was at this place, and I white knuckled my way through it. I did not get on a yoga path. I did not get on any sort of path that was helping me, except for white knuckling it, trying to read books, trying to medicate myself. And through that, I did develop a new capacity, a new threshold. But looking back, I wish I was able to get onto a path I was able to start to learn to master my mind. And this is going to be crucial for you. If you're dealing with a lot of pain and suffering in your life right now, you need to learn to master your mind, because your mind is where the pain and suffering exists. The mind is always finding reasons to experience pain and suffering. So, because it's always contrasting and comparing, right? So it's, your mind is always going to say to you, you can't experience happiness without the absence of fear or sadness or jealousy or whatever it might be. So if you are at a place in your life where you're experiencing sadness and you're experiencing these other emotions, that means that if you're only in the mind energy, you're only going to be able to experience happiness once you dissolve those other emotions. And what ends up happening is we run. We run from our emotions. We don't find the solution to them, so we start to medicate. We start to distract ourselves from ourselves. But what that ends up doing is it pushes us further and further into our pain, because the pain is really, the emotions are energy. They're trying to release themselves from our being, but we are not allowing that to take place. That needs to take place in stillness, and it needs to take place in resonance and going within your being and being able to hold space for yourself to release this. And what we want to do is we don't want to do this because we don't have a capacity for discomfort. We don't want to lean into discomfort. We want to lean away from discomfort. And this is what needs to shift. So when you feel pain and you feel suffering, I'm asking you to lean in. Become curious, observe, and ask yourself what it is that you need. Right? Not what you need. Ask what do you need in order for your being to be able to release this energy and start to move forward into happiness. That's essentially, at the end of the day, what everybody is seeking. We all want to just be happy. We all want to be content. We all want to just be satisfied with life. We don't want to suffer, right? But suffering comes when we have an incongruency between head and heart. Right? Our head is telling us one thing and our heart is telling us the other. And I can tell you this, if you continue going through life listening to your mind, you are getting further and further and further away from your truth, which is getting you further and further and further away from happiness. So find stillness, give yourself 5 minutes a day and just ask your heart, ask your body, what does it need? And quit allowing your mind to run the show, and that's going to be a big part of this journey. Okay? And I want to finish off with this because this is something that's helped me a lot, okay? The heart whispers to you while the mind shouts at you. So it's very easy for us to listen to the mind because it's shouting, right? But what we need to do is we need to just listen to the whispers. We need to pause, we need to find stillness, and we need to listen to the whispers, because the heart is not going to shout out at you. The heart doesn't know aggression. The heart knows gentle, right? It knows softness. And that's what we need to start to tune into. We need to start to listen to that softness, listen to the gentle whispers that are being whispered to you, so you can listen and act accordingly. Okay, that's a big part of this. So and then an activity or an exercise that you can do that's going to really help with this is going to be to quit running. Quit running from jealousy, sadness, fear, anger, all of these emotions, and honor them, because they are part of the human experience. They are valuable lessons on your journey that are trying to teach you what you don't need to be doing, because that's why we experience them. I experience anger because somebody's betraying me. That means that I need to go in and I need to honor a boundary and say, I'm not going to allow you to betray me anymore. As soon as I set that boundary, my anger is gone. So anger is a sign or a symbol that's giving me that I need to make a change in my environment, or a change in the way I'm thinking. Okay? So the exercise goes like this. You're going to say, I honor it could be anger. I honor and respect your power. And I'm choosing to allow you to be part of my part of my experience right now. When you honor an emotion, it dissolves, because it's saying, okay, thank you. I appreciate that you honoring me, because you're actually honoring yourself. You're the one experiencing the emotion. You're honoring yourself. So then it dissolves. That's key here, okay? So you want to make sure that you're able to honor yourself and allow it to release. That's a very powerful exercise. So I want you guys to give that a shot. All right? Have a beautiful day.